Once upon a time, in the Kenyan village of Nyuru, life was simple, almost austere. The villagers lived by the work of their hands, tilling small patches of land, herding a few animals, and trading in the modest markets. They were a people of limited means, their joys rooted in the blessings of the rain and the fruits of their labor. The roofs of their homes were patched with dried grass, and their days were dictated by the rising and setting sun. Amid this humble existence stood Mutiso and his family, as though they didn't quite belong. Mutiso, a man whose aspirations towered above the thatched roofs, held himself with an air of superiority that the villagers quietly resented. It wasn't wealth that set him apart, for he owned no more than the others, but the treasure he guarded so fiercely, his daughter, Wanjiru. Wanjiru's beauty was a marvel in Nyuru, like a rare flower blooming in a dry and dusty plain. Her elegance and grace seemed out of place in the simple village, drawing admirers from near and far. Men whispered of her flawless skin, radiant like the first light of dawn, and her eyes, which shone like stars on a moonless night. Her presence elevated her family's status, and Mutiso, ever the opportunist, milked her beauty for all it was worth. While other fathers in Nyuru took pride in their children's kindness or hard work, Mutiso boasted endlessly about Wanjiru's unmatched beauty. "She is no ordinary girl," he often declared. "She deserves a life fit for a queen." His dreams for Wanjiru were woven not from love but from the golden threads of ambition. He believed her beauty was a ticket to a life of wealth and status, and he guarded her like a miser guards his treasure. But Wanjiru's beauty came with its challenges. Young men flocked to their home, hoping to win her hand. Among them was Kiptu, a modest farmer who had long harbored a quiet love for Wanjiru. His gifts were humble, wildflowers from the fields or carved trinkets crafted in the soft glow of the evening fire. Though Kiptu's love for Wanjiru was pure, his lack of wealth made him invisible to Mutiso. "No, my daughter will not marry a poor farmer," Mutiso would shout, his voice booming like thunder. "Only the wealthiest man will have her hand." And so, while the rest of Nyuru lived their simple lives, the Mutiso household basked in its imagined grandeur, waiting for the day when a suitor would come bearing riches to match Wanjiru's beauty. It was a dream Mutiso clung to with all his might, even as the winds of fate began to shift, carrying whispers of both hope and heartbreak to their little village. And then one day, the whispers of a wealthy man named Wakaba reached their ears. One fateful afternoon, news of a wealthy man named Wakaba, who lived in a distant town, reached Mutiso's ears. Wakaba was said to be so rich that even his dogs wore collars made of gold. It was said he owned plantations that stretched farther than the eye could see and that his wealth could feed 10 villages for years. To Mutiso, this was the suitor he had been waiting for. His dreams began to shimmer with visions of treasures and wealth beyond measure. One sunny morning, an emissary arrived at Mutiso's doorstep, his arrival announced by the gleam of the gifts he carried. There were silk fabrics in colors so vibrant they seemed to hold the sun's rays, glittering trinkets, and baskets overflowing with ripe fruits that seemed to come from paradise itself. The emissary stepped forward with the air of a man who had seen palaces and kings, bowing slightly before Mutiso and Wanjiru, whose curiosity was piqued. "My master, the Honorable Wakaba, sends these gifts as a token of his admiration for the renowned beauty of Wanjiru," the emissary said smoothly. "He regrets that he could not come himself, as he is attending an important business meeting in the city, but he hopes this will suffice for now. He wishes to express his desire to make Wanjiru his bride." The gifts glittered in the midday sun, their brilliance reflected in Mutiso's wide eyes. He turned to Wanjiru, who was inspecting the silks with an air of fascination. She ran her fingers across the fine fabrics, her lips curling into a smile. "What do you think, my daughter?" Mutiso asked eagerly. Wanjiru straightened, her expression thoughtful but tinged with pride. "Father, if he is as rich as they say, then perhaps he is the one worthy of my beauty." Her voice was calm, yet there was a gleam in her eye, a reflection of her father's ambition. Mutiso grinned. "Then it is settled. Tell your master we accept his proposal. Let the preparations for the wedding begin." The emissary nodded, but before leaving, he pulled out a document and placed it before Mutiso. "One condition, sir. My master values tradition and loyalty above all. He asks that you swear an oath, a binding promise, that Wanjiru will not be given to any other man. This is to honor his faith in your word." Mutiso, blinded by the treasures before him, didn't hesitate. He swore the oath with an almost theatrical flourish, sealing his daughter's fate with his own greed. Wanjiru, too, felt a swell of pride. Her beauty, her father had always said, would bring them greatness, and now it seemed that moment had arrived. The weeks passed in a blur of preparations. Mutiso spared no expense, using Wakaba's gifts to throw the grandest wedding Nuru had ever seen. The village buzzed with activity as food was prepared, colorful decorations were strung from trees, and musicians rehearsed lively tunes. Wanjiru basked in the attention, her pride growing with every whispered compliment about her beauty. The wedding day dawned bright and clear, and the village gathered in anticipation. Wanjiru, draped in silks and adorned with gold, looked every bit the queen her father had envisioned. As the feast reached its height, the moment everyone had been waiting for arrived. The emissary stepped forward once more, this time announcing the arrival of the groom. "Behold, my master, Wakaba." All eyes turned to the entrance as Wakaba stepped into the light. The air grew heavy with whispers as the villagers took in the sight before them. Wakaba was indeed adorned in the finest silks and gold, but he was not the man they had imagined. Short, hunched, and far older than anyone had expected, Wakaba's appearance was a far cry from the regal image the emissary had painted. Wanjiru's smile faltered, her confidence shaken. She glanced at her father, who was momentarily stunned but quickly recovered, forcing a wide smile. Wanjiru, however, was not so easily consoled. "Father, you've deceived me. This man is not the prince you promised." Mutiso's expression darkened. "Silence, Wanjiru. You will marry him as we agreed. Have you forgotten the oath I swore? Breaking it now would bring shame upon our family." Realizing she was trapped, Wanjiru straightened her shoulders and forced a smile. The wedding proceeded, but the celebration was hollow. The villagers, who had once envied Mutiso's good fortune, now pitied him. "He traded his daughter's happiness for gold," they whispered. "And now he reaps the emptiness he sowed." As the years passed, Mutiso's riches brought him no peace. The gold that had once dazzled his eyes now seemed dull and lifeless. Wanjiru, too, lived out her days in quiet sorrow, her beauty a fading memory of what once was.